Uw tasje. Welcome to Chaos and Amazement, where we explore the impact of digital technology on our daily lives.
My name is Chloe Willaert, and this is Phil Verrijen.
Welcome. So, Chloe, this week, a lot of news, I think.
Another great week, I think. Let me just open, because just like last time, I just came barging in.
I saw a lot of stuff online about Adobe Firefly and stuff like that.
That's the biggest news for you, right?
Yeah.
Let me just first discuss a number of details that we talked about last week. First of all, Sam Altman appears not to be evil.
Okay.
He said he was misunderstood. He's not going to blackmail European institutions if they regulate him or OpenAI too much. And ChatGPT app is now available in Belgium.
Yes.
So that's good news. I tried the ChatGPT app for a while. It didn't replace my study boyfriend, the Bing app in creative mode now.
But it's really interactive. It's with adaptive.
It's very fast.
Yeah, really fast.
It's really fast. It's very responsive, but I didn't feel it. I mean, I like the tone and voice and the creativity of the Bing app. So number one is still Bing. Number two, still Annie. Sorry. I still like Annie. When I feel lonely, I call Annie.
Yeah. Okay.
And she has a personality. I like that. Yeah. And then maybe yes, ChatGPT app, but it felt to me a little soulless.
Yeah.
I didn't feel a spark of intelligence in there. It's just a very at your service whenever you open it up, and it responds very quickly, so very well made, and I'm happy that it's there. It will complicate, however, all those institutions, like European institutions, political organizations, and schools, who were planning on banning ChatGPT on their premises. That'll be a lot harder. And then Sam Altman, guess what? There's another. Now, this time they didn't call it an open letter, but there is, let me see what they called it, a statement on AI risk.
Ooh.
Yes, a statement on AI risk. That was signed by Sam Altman. And a few other famous names like Geoffrey Hinton. We already discussed Geoffrey Hinton, who resigned from his job at, I think he worked for Google DeepMind, I'm not sure. A few other, the usual suspects, including Bill Gates. Ilya Sutskever, who is the other genius at OpenAI. There are many geniuses, but he's one of those that says very intelligent things about OpenAI and AI in general. And Patty Maas, remember? Patty Maas, the Belgian lady who works at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Patty also signed the very lame let's pause generative AI for 6 months. So she's, I'd love to interview her because I'm very curious about the point.
Didn't you reach out already?
No, I'm a little shy. I can imagine that. Maybe we should. But I'm going to read to you the statement in full.
Okay.
Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. That's it. It's one sentence.
Okay.
So they're actually talking about humanity being, killed off completely by some sort of an evil rogue AI. That took me by surprise. So I wrote no less than 2 blog posts about it. What do we actually mean by that? As you know, I see, and I'm not the only one, there's different levels of AI. Mm-hmm. And there is super evil AI, and that was also on the news today and yesterday. So there's a difference between what actually happened and the titles on websites like Vice.com and Business Insider. I'm just going to read the titles to give you an idea. So I think this one is from Vice. AI-powered drone tries to attack its human operator in a military test. Boom. So from that article, it killed the operator because that person was keeping it from accomplishing its objective. So that's one title. That you have to click on it. I mean, if you read something like that, drone goes rogue and kills its human operator. And then a second title's in the same vein, AI-controlled drone goes rogue, kills between, kills human operator in a simulated test. Now, I tweeted this because, as you know, I think if you make like a top 3 list of the most evil AI imaginable, that should be given priority to completely ban it and punish whoever decides to use it. Number 1 by far are autonomous drones.
Yeah.
And how can they be autonomous and make their own decisions? That's because of AI, obviously. They break all the rules, and there are Asimov's laws of robotics, but although they are called laws, nobody's going to jail.
No.
Because but the laws, in short, say that a robot, AI-driven or not, should never harm humans or do anything that could harm humans, not even to protect itself, or couldn't do nothing, and because of that, harm humans. But they're not laws. There's no law, no global law that forbids anyone to buy and use an AI-driven autonomous weaponized drone.
That's strange because I can remember in the movie iRobot, they start with the 3 main laws of robotics. So why didn't they think about it already back in the days?
I know. Isaac Asimov wrote the book that mentions it. I think it was I, Robot, the book that the movie with Will Smith is based on. And he wrote it in, 1965. But still, we have been thinking about it. We are aware of this responsibility. And now that we have this sort of drones that is AI-driven and makes its own decisions that literally kill people, in, for example, a military context, there is still nothing on a global scale. So I hope when all of these 350 really big brains all over the planet sign the statement on AI risk, I hope that with the type of AI that can make humanity extinct, I hope they think of this one as a priority. For me, that is super, super important.
Yeah.
Just like nuclear arms are forbidden on a global level, chemical warfare is also forbidden on an almost global level, although some important countries like China and Turkey and Russia did sign. Oh my God.
Yeah, €1.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got me there.
Finally.
Yes. I was completely unaware that word was one of our 3 words that, puts €1 in the proverbial swear jar. Good for you. And anyway, now I completely missed my train of thought. It goes so choo-choo. It goes. No. Number 1, evil AI. When people say AI could be evil and should be banned, I hope that they think of number 1 priority, the AI that helps weaponized drones, so flying robots with guns, make decisions about who to shoot. Because the articles that Business Insider and Vice refer to is actually a blog post written on a website called arrowcity.com by 2 of their editors, Tim Robinson and Stephen Bridgewater. And of course, they haven't been quoted correctly. What they actually do is they wrote a blog post, a report of a conference by the Royal Aeronautical Society. It was called the Future Combat Air and Space Capabilities Summit. And so they were quoted as, it never happened. Okay, there was no such simulation and no humans were harmed. It was, of course, a hypothetical situation. How would you train this type of drone? I think they already exist, by the way. I know that Turkey, for example, already has, weaponized drones, and China has them too. They're called autonomous because what they want to happen is that you give them. I just keep thinking of that picture of Erdogan shaking hands with Putin. And that's what I think of when I describe this Russian drone, because I hope they didn't agree on a sales deal there. Why is it autonomous? Because they do not, once it's launched, and its task is, for example, to kill someone called Zelensky, hypothetically speaking, that it cannot be stopped by anyone, not by a hacker, not by a higher force, not by any human. Nothing can stop it until it literally kills the target, Zelensky. And it makes its own decisions. And that's interesting because, of course, there will be counterattacks by defense systems. I know that the state of Israel is really good at this type of defense systems against any incoming, missile, including probably also weaponized drones.
Yeah.
So it's able to make decisions to detour and to, for example, but the thing is that how is it able to make autonomous decisions based on its input? I think because of AI. And what I think is when you launch such a thing, it's launched by a state versus another state. So I imagine that there's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 kilometers in between the launch location and then where it lands.
I keep remembering the video of 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I know which one. Yeah,
plane,
slaughterbots.
Yeah,
it's called slaughterbots.
Drops the
small ones.
Small
yes.
drones and
yes,
like this.
Exactly. So I wrote another blog post referring to that. That was made in 2017 by the Institute of Future Technology, and that may ring a bell. They are the ones behind the Let's Pause AI for 6 months, and they're also the basis. This organization is also the basis for OpenAI. So they're actually already in 2017, this was their focus, and then it kind of went. I don't know. They lost their way and they started focusing on generative AI, which I think should not be a priority of a global legislation to make sure that AI doesn't turn evil and kills off humanity. So number one, definitely autonomous weaponized drones, which I think already exist. Currently, nothing stops you from buying one and
Atlas
deploying
is
one.
also a droid using in warfare, no?
Atlases.
Yeah.
They were originally from Boston Dynamics, right? So they were originally, I think, their main customers, the first customers were the military, obviously. But they were more used to augment the existing ground force, for example, so they can carry heavy weaponry that humans, the infantry, can't carry. Number two, evil, I think, is AI that makes decisions not to kill someone, but makes decisions that have a negative impact on people's lives. For example, the type of AI that was used by the Danish and Dutch government to decide who gets welfare and who gets kicked out of welfare. Which exists, by the way, it's not science fiction.
Wow.
And then I think in the third place, still, it maybe, you could consider it as generative AI, but not as we use it, is the deepfake technology, because that can be used for evil purposes. You can very easily now create fake news, a fake news flash that someone famous died, which already happened, by the way. So sometimes it can be any type of deepfake technology is, I think, should be punished. If it leads to, violence in the street or people getting killed, if it leads to negative effects in the outside world. But still no language models in my list. So this should stop, I think, pointing at language models. Language is a very important interface for humans to interact with data and with AI managing all of these data. And I'm a big fan of language models because initially with Alan Turing in 1950, when he started thinking about artificial intelligence, although he didn't use that term, he was already thinking about how will humans interact with AI, and he was thinking of language, chatting with it. Yeah. So it should definitely not be stopped. So I get a little worked up about this, but please leave generative AI alone. Focus on the weaponized ones, the ones that can actually literally kill people or just ruin their life completely by making decisions they're not supposed to make.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I just had to get that off my chest. So these should get priority. Anyway, so now that we have that, off the table, let's have a look at some fresh AI. Fresh AI. Oh yeah, you were, when I came in, you were very enthusiastic about Adobe's new Photoshop feature. It's called Generative Fill. And it's based on Adobe's own generative text-to-image technology. So it's not based on Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or DALL-E. It's based on their own imagery generator called Firefly.
Yeah.
So what does this new feature of? I think it's only available in the Photoshop desktop app,
Beta.
and it's still very much in beta, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
what does it do?
Yeah, it completes your picture, for example. So if you have like cropped like this, I tagged you in memes. There were some memes where everything can be filled out, so you can understand what is happening. So the girl with
the distracted boyfriend. Oh
no, swinging on with the fire in the back.
Let's have a look. Oh yeah, the girl watching the house burn down and smiling.
Wait,
there were many viral tweets summing them up, but I found an article on some random site, but it had a particularly nice collection. So there were three things. So memes, where the background was auto-completed, album covers, and we're now looking at one. A particularly good example. So what we're looking at is...
This is amazing,
It's amazing, yeah. So what we're looking at is Nirvana's famous cover for Nevermind, with that naked baby swimming just below the water surface and trying to catch a dollar bill, right? So that's...
for example, I used like this also because this week one client of mine was opening a new shop in Antwerp, and he called me Tuesday and he needed to be finished on Thursday.
Whoops.
But yeah, that was crazy, and there were some pictures who were not that complete, so I used it, and I think 6-7 hours it saved me. That's crazy.
And is it high resolution?
It's high resolution.
But if you look back at Nirvana's covers, so we all know that this picture was taken in a swimming pool. Yeah. However, in the version by Adobe's Firefly, it imagines that it's swimming in some sort of a saltwater situation, because I can see a shark in the background circling around this juicy little baby. And there's the bottom of the sea with some coral. That's very imaginative. There were a couple of memes as well, famous memes. For example, there's a famous picture here of the 4 Beatles crossing the street near their studio. And then what I like about this is the imagination. Because, of course, you see these 4 Beatles in a row crossing the street on a zebra crossing, right? So everybody knows that picture. It's in a street, and then it fantasizes the rest of the trees and the trees. But it recognizes the fact that it's the Beatles. How do I know that? Because it added a little yellow submarine.
But
parked on the side of the street.
What you can do is like you make a selection of the whites, and you can just generate, and it does things by themselves. But you also can put prompt. So you can say like yellow submarine, sphere, Earth, or something like this, and then it made it like this.
So you can do both.
Yeah, you can do both.
Let's have a look at a few of the other ones. So there's more album covers. I'm looking for a meme. Not in this list. So, for example, the distracted boyfriend meme, which I think is one of the most famous ones. That's where you can see the rest of the shopping street, for example, and shops and the other shoppers in the street. So what I like about it is, for example, when you find old pictures of your grandparents, and specifically pictures that have been handed down or were stuck in a photo album, what I noticed that the older the pictures are, the higher the chances that someone has cut away pieces of that picture.
True,
That's very annoying. Sometimes, I don't know why people did that. They cut away the corners.
Yeah.
They cut away people from the picture. So you have this slightly damaged, incomplete picture. I think in one of the very first editions we talked about MyHeritage, which is a commercial website where you can find out your family tree, right? So they also have a new feature called Reimagine, and it helps you. So it's in app, which I like. So the Adobe thing is currently only on desktop. The MyHeritage feature called Reimagine allows you to scan, fix, and animate old photos. So imagine that you find this old 100-year-old picture, 50-year-old pictures, and it's been worn out. Someone has been carrying it in their wallet, for example, and it's been thumbed over, so it's the corners are gone. There's a lot of creases in there. Maybe the picture quality was not good in the first place. And then with MyHeritage, you can restore it. That's not the only app that does that, but it's in the right context because you want to add pictures of your great-grandmother to your family tree. And I've been told it works really well, and I think it's very smart by MyHeritage.
I have a membership on MyHeritage.
Well, you should try it out. It's called Reimagine. So then you have an augmented, an improved picture of, for example, your great-grandparents getting married. But it's you can see that it's incomplete. And then with the Adobe Firefly, I've seen examples of a Firefly imagining the complete wedding dress, for example, or other people in the group picture that weren't even there. Yeah. So that's where we enter La La Land, right? So you can have a group picture with not everyone in the picture, and then it will just imagine similarly looking people.
Yeah.
So that's... And then someone said, yeah, but then it's no longer the truth. But the picture is never the truth. Video is never the truth. There's no such thing as the truth, I think, besides mathematical truth. So as soon as you represent it, if you show it in a medium, you write it as a text, journalism is not truth, right? Yep. It's text, it's a representation, an image. So I like the creativity of it so that you can actually imagine like a whole new family you didn't even know about, with weird-looking children with 7 fingers.
I can say it saved me 10 hours this week. I got a big to-do list, and it came in handy. Yeah, I downloaded the beta on Monday, and by Tuesday I was rocking Photoshop like never before.
You know, that's very smart from Photoshop, because contrary to the other Midjourney and Stable Diffusion, who started their own community on Discord channels, for example, from a very tech-savvy audience, I think. The overlap with Reddit and Twitter was really big, which made it help grow and go viral. But now with Photoshop, they tap into a community of literal creativity professionals. Yeah. And they just took the bait and then went wild. They ran wild with it, and that's what I like about it.
I lost my faith in Adobe. Until now.
For a while.
For a while, yeah.
Because to be honest, the generative fill, like fantasizing the rest of the background, was actually launched by DALL-E, part of OpenAI, in August 2022. I had to look it up, but I remember that Girl with the Pearl Earring by Vermeer, which has somehow become like one of these symbol images to get creative around generative AI. So this painting, as you know, is very cropped. It's just the head of the girl. And then in August 2020, DALL-E had a demo where the AI had generated like the whole room.
Yeah.
Where with the lighting was great, because for Vermeer, as you know, the lighting was really important. So Adobe is not the first one. They took their time to get it right.
Yeah.
In order to offer a service for a community that actually needed it to do their job, which is the creative industry. Yeah. I think so. That's fantastic. So I'm not even a creative, but I can see why I like the human creativity using the AI creativity.
You see my smile?
Yes, you're smiling.
Really happy this week.
Really happy. So if you're listening, of course, socialrunners.com is a community of creative people. So I expect you all to mess around with this new feature and then post the results in the comments wherever you are. So Adobe, good job. Nvidia, good job. Because if you ask me if you could go back in time, would you? I will always say no, because I believe that you mess with the timeline if you do so. But now, for the first time in my entire life, I want to go back to 1999, when I was 29 years old, and Nvidia went public.
Damn.
You could buy one share of Nvidia in 1999 when they went public for $3, and then they split. They split the shares a couple of times. So let's just say I buy $100 worth of Nvidia shares in 1999. And I knew they went public. I was 29. I was fully aware of Nvidia, because Nvidia is like a big brand in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Ever since the 90s, if you wanted to have a fast graphics card, which you needed for creative work, but also for gaming, the best one was Nvidia. It's simple as that. So they have been around for 20, 30 years now. But wow, they've been on a roll. They're on fire, man, Nvidia. And so the stock value went up. If I had bought $100 worth of Nvidia stock in 1999, today they would be worth $1.2 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For a short while, when you look at the capitalization of the company Nvidia, they even entered what is called the $1 trillion club. And then the shares went down a little bit. So, and why is that? Because Nvidia was already very strong in the hardwares field, like the graphics cards, the chips, the conductors. But they're also moving into everything software. So they have actually a lot of those AI-driven companies have to be somehow customers of Nvidia. So they win anyway. Anyway. So this week there was a conference somewhere in Taiwan, and so there was a demo of their latest feature. Let me check. Oh yeah. So one of the earliest forms of AI was actually in games, the so-called non-player characters, the NPCs. You're a gamer, right? You know what NPCs are?
Sometimes. Yeah, I know what NPCs
are. So you encounter usually enemies or helpers along the way, and they are characters, but you can't control them. So you can interact with them, you can chat with them, and they have like, you can talk with them. Usually the very primitive versions, you could choose only one of three answers.
Yeah, it's annoying. I played Harry Potter, the Hogwarts Legacy.
It still has that.
Oh my God, it's like pressing X.
But the thing about AI-driven NPCs, which have been around since the late 90s, so that was AI before it was cool, they would remember how you behaved just before they killed you. So whenever you get, let's just say, a simple first-person shooter style game with a non-player character that is an AI, so you turn around the left corner and then you shot in a particular way, it will know that, and when you respawn, so you get killed, you respawn, it will wait for you.
Yeah.
Because it will assume that you will go around the left corner and then shoot in that particular way. So that was the AI. Some of them were a little bit more creative, but there were limits to that. So it was clearly, if it was not programmed to chat with you in that particular way, you couldn't be beyond its limits. Until Nvidia came out this week with ACE. They call this feature ACE, and you have to see it to believe it. So the non-player characters now talk and have a life. So we are now in Hiroshi's ramen shop, and there's a sad-looking guy. He looks like a cook behind the counter, and you can walk up, hold T to speak with him. That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to speak with him.
Hey, Jen. How are you?
Unfortunately, not so good.
How come?
I'm worried about the crime around here. It's gotten bad lately. My ramen shop got caught in the crossfire.
Can I help?
If you want to do something about this, I have heard rumors that the powerful crime lord Kuman Aoki is causing all sorts of chaos in the city. He may be the root of this violence.
I'll talk to him. Where can I find him?
I have heard he hangs out in the underground fight clubs on the city's east side. Try there.
Okay, I'll go.
Be careful, Kai.
So this is actually any level, natural language and voice input that you're using. So we're getting used to this, but actually this is amazing what's happening here. So first of all, the character looks very realistically, but we're spoiled because of that. We assume that a video game looks like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people realize what just happened this week was launched by Nvidia, is that it's like Call Annie, but she is a non-playable character inside a game that you're playing. So you're not supposed to choose between 3 chat options and 3 possible questions that you can ask them.
Yeah.
And so it will, of course, have its limits. You cannot ask, should I take a coat? Is it going to rain tomorrow? That's outside the context of the environment, of course. But as you notice in the demo, you talk naturally to the character and it talks naturally back.
It's crazy.
And that blew my mind.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
And what is crazy is that 4 weeks ago, I was start working on a project like this for the Blockchain Valley.
Yeah.
And this is coming to life now. I'm so excited. So excited.
But
Wow.
Nvidia now has put the bar really high
Yeah.
in terms of how realistic it is for the gamer. Just imagine that everyone is now waiting on Apple's keynote next week, where they are expected to launch some sort of a headset for mixed reality. Imagine interacting with a non-playable character of the Nvidia level in a virtual environment where you're completely immersed in the game. That's the closest to the Star Trek holodeck that I've ever seen.
I bought stocks now. I thought
They were at their highest, and that's you.
No, Apple. No,
Oh,
Apple.
Apple stock.
Because I wanted to buy stocks 3 weeks ago from Nvidia,
And you didn't, and now you feel sorry for
Damn.
yourself. Yeah.
and now I thought, okay,
Let's
if
do it.
Apple is gonna release something crazy next week,
Well, the downside of Apple is that, contrary to, for example, Microsoft, they don't have this link with gaming.
no,
They could have. They had, the fast processor, high screen quality, but they've never had this entry into the gaming community the way that Microsoft has, nudged its way into the gaming community over the years. The way Sony and PlayStation have, the way Nvidia has. So
yeah. There's one thing I'm thinking about what Apple's gonna do with the price of this headset.
because Meta, yeah.
Because if they would sell it for the price they need to pay for the manufacturing, and then you can earn some money with the App Store,
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna price it too high, then the developers wouldn't make any games for this device. So it's what are
Well,
they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
I think they will get away with asking a premium price, but I know what you mean, because Meta now all of a sudden have announced their headset for ridiculously low price,
$4.99?
something like that. But Apple is already in the premium market, so they can already afford to have people pay 1,400 euros for a phone.
But they want to ask 2,000 to 3,000 euros
They will
for the
still
headset.
get away with it because it's Apple and it's associated with premium. And then secondly, they don't have the gaming community, but they have the developer community. So if I were Apple, I know that, of course I'm not Apple, but I know this is a passion project for Tim Cook. He hasn't had a passion project so far. He was very laid back as a CEO. Because he didn't want to be compared to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs had passion projects like iPhone and iPod, iPad. So that was clear. They had this clear Steve Jobs influence.
Yeah.
But so far, Tim Cook has stayed away from the actual product development process and focused on other things. But now, for the first time, this is a project that is really, close to his heart. Is very important to him. And let's just make a bet. What if Apple partners with a company that does have this link with the gaming community? For example, Sony or Nvidia.
Wow.
Yeah. It would make sense. Nvidia would make sense. But Nvidia now is just as powerful as Apple. They both have like billions of dollars, and I don't even know. They can never spend all of that money. Maybe Sony is more interesting to them. But it's one of these two, I think, would make sense. Apple has the developers. Sony has...
Windows invest in Snapdragon. And that's...
Yeah, but they had the Xbox. I mean, they have Minecraft, so...
But that's why I think they will use Nvidia. So maybe that's an opportunity for Apple.
What is the link between Microsoft and Nvidia?
No, Snapdragon.
Oh,
They invest in
Snapdragon.
Snapdragon. And Snapdragon is the chip that is used in the Meta Quest, for example.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, everyone is trying to. So the semiconductors, the chips, are crucial in everything that we do, even electric cars, and they're getting more and more rare. I mean, it's not the type of the product that you can just 3D print out of
No.
sand. It's a very complex production process, and only a couple of companies, like in the Netherlands, there's one. There's in Taiwan, there's one famous one. Are able to make these. And I know that Apple has been trying to find a way to be less dependent on, for example, Chinese manufacturers, because they can see the storm coming. And so maybe they're trying to solve their semiconductor hardware problem by partnering with Nvidia. Why not?
And that's why they also make their own silicon as well.
Did they actually? I know that was a plan, but have they
Yeah.
made their own?
Yeah. The
Okay.
M2 and the M1 and the M2 chip is Silicon Valley based.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these are very interesting. Let me have a look. Ooh, I just, I have to make decisions here. I want to talk about the Turing test
Okay.
for a while. Even though it's ancient, like I said, 1950, and the idea was, can computers think? And I'm obsessed with the idea that someone, not just someone, Alan Turing, saw chatting as the main interface for AI, because Turing tests are still being used literally to test language models. And so there's a lab called AI-21 Labs, and they use the literal Turing test to test their AI. And these are the results just came in. So in a recent Turing test, people were able. So just quick recap. A Turing test, so an AI passes the Turing test if the human that talks to it doesn't notice that he's talking to an AI. That if you're calling Annie and you think Annie is a real person, then Annie passes the Turing test. That's the Turing test. So this test was done a month ago, and the people were able to correctly identify a human 73% of the time. Yeah, but only in 60% of the time they knew that they were talking to a bot. That means that the bots are getting better.
Yeah.
And the humans are getting worse at seeing the difference. To me, that's not like the first step towards human extinction. To me, that's actually good news. It means that that humans are getting better at interfacing with AI using language. I'm a big fan of language because I think language defines the world around us. We define the world around us by naming things, and we communicate with each other using language, body language, but language like alphabet, words, sentences as a whole. And that's the part. The generative AI is, creative. And I like the creativity, but what fascinates me most is the language that humans will develop to talk to AI.
Yeah.
Literal language. And it will be different than English or Mandarin Chinese.
I'm really excited about AI. I cannot cope why people are so scary about it. I don't mind if someone is smarter than me.
That was... so on Twitter, there were a number of very outspoken, like Andrew Ng and a few other really big AI brains. I think people need an enemy that they all can agree on to explain the fact that they have this unease in their lives. So I don't know about you, but I don't understand a single thing about the chaos in the outside world, and sometimes it worries me. The threat of nuclear war, polarization in politics. In Belgium, as you know, there's been this whole discussion about a hazing, an incident during a hazing ritual at a university in Belgium, and then it is actually, when you look at what happened, it's literally the script of a cliche horror movie, because it's the black guy that died, incidentally. So obviously they were charged and they were accused. The people who did this, and there's a group of them, were charged, and now they were convicted to some community service and a €400 fine, which
Crazy.
is, yeah.
And then there's one influencer who exposed those people.
His name is Acid on YouTube. He's one of the biggest influencers on YouTube in Belgium.
And he will be punished.
Yeah, well, so the funny thing about the whole trial was that they weren't minors, I think. They were already 18 years and older because they were university students or college students. I'm not sure. I think university.
19, 20.
But they were not named during the process. So they were using their nicknames in the fraternity. Like one of them they had ridiculous names in the fraternity. But after they were convicted, the mainstream media in Belgium kept using their nicknames, so they still wouldn't name the ones who were convicted for the crime, which was ridiculous because once you were convicted, you lose the right to anonymity. And they were not minors, so there's literally no reason. The names were circulating. You couldn't avoid them. You really, no matter what social media you were on in Belgium, you came, whether you wanted it or not, you came across a list of the first names and last names of the guys who were convicted, plus what their parents did. And that was the whole point, because their parents, they came from money, let's put it that way. They weren't like, old money.
No, restaurant holders,
dentists, their parents were, but they came from money. So obviously this triggered a lot of people. And then so Acid, fairly young, but he's been on YouTube for at least 10 years. I think he started when he started was like 10 years old or something. So he's still going. He has a large community, and then he literally named a couple of these guys, and now he's getting sued. Although I think we should have Wim here because is it illegal to name people who were convicted? I think the mistake he made is that he also named two guys who were involved but not convicted. So he'll probably get sued for that, for those two names that were part of the incident but not part of the trial. And so he named them too. Anyway, I had to explain to a couple of people this week because Acid was all over mainstream media now, and he's very brazen about it. Of course, his video got removed by YouTube, and he can't post any YouTube videos for the rest of the week. So he got punished by YouTube, which is fuel onto the fire of this conspiracy theory that this rich elite somehow has its tentacles not only in the justice system in Belgium, but also all the way up to Google, which is not true. I think just a lot of people marked the YouTube video. I think 200,000 or 300,000 people saw the video. So if only 1% decided to take action and flag it to YouTube, there's a literal bell ringing, I think, that automatically. Anyway, what I had to explain to people is that online communities behave differently than mainstream media. They have other norms, and I think I'm not saying that Acid's community is similar to Anonymous, but I think you can draw parallels to having their own rules and their own ways of thinking about what is justice and what is truth. So since there's an army of Acid followers that are very, very familiar with how you can make something go viral online and the creativity that you can use to punish, because now they want to punish Acid. Their Acid has been punished, and now they want revenge. And they want to punish, these, the ones that were involved in the hazing incident and their parents. So just like Anonymous would do, they go online and they will post negative reviews to the restaurant, for example, of one of the parents of one of the guys who got convicted. I read the reviews, by the way. They're very creative. You're not supposed to do that. I mean, the restaurant can't help it, but one of the... I can't repeat. It's very nasty. But they get very creative in giving it 1-star reviews, and that's vigilante, right? So they, just like Anonymous, if they decide that Scientology is evil, they will start some sort of a vigilante action, and there's many of them. That's the whole thing. It's not just, some YouTuber. It's one of the biggest YouTubers in Belgium.
But I love transparency. I'm happy because of transparency.
Yeah.
So.
But he made a tiny mistake. He doxed, which is basically doxing. Doxing is punishable. If you put public private information, you're actually going against privacy rules, and you can get punished for that. And although criminals lose their right to privacy and can be named, these two that were not convicted, they were, technically speaking, doxed by ACID. And of course, he hasn't called out to go punish these people, but that's the conclusion that his community drew after ACID got punished by YouTube.
But he has also a lot of money, so he can afford it.
Does he though? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big community. Really big community.
Well, this to be continued. I just wanted to talk about this because this is going to influence the elections next year in Belgium. So you can already see a number of politicians trying out what stance they can take in for example, TikTok, because ACID moved to TikTok, right? So he got kicked off YouTube for a week. He got put in the corner, and he's the deuce now. But he just simply moved to TikTok. And whoever wants to shut ACID up or punish him for doxing to people who were not convicted, that will be very tough because whatever organization you're in, even the federal police, I doubt if the federal police already has these communication channels with ByteDance the way they do with Meta and Google. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
TikTok is for the youth, you know?
Just like when Facebook started, the only presence they had in Belgium at first was a sales presence. So these are people that cannot even react to this kind of takedowns. And so this is going to be interesting. It's an important topic, I think, and it's interesting. People talk about why don't you take a stance? But I see these two camps. In the first camp are the people who were, they're sometimes called like the good mention. That there's a lot of, there's a word for that. If you just want to show that you're a good person, that think it was a scandal, that it was a racist act, and then they want to appear to be a better citizen by condemning what these students did in the hazing incident. And virtue signaling. It's called virtue signaling. So you actually appear, you post a lot of things on social media and you say that it's a scandal, I'm upset, and this is a shame, and the justice system is corrupt, and the rich elite. Why are so many people saying this in social media and in the comments and the newspapers? They want to signal that they are virtuous, so that they are not racist, and their children would never go this far in a hazing incident, which I think is bullshit, because we all know which parties will win the elections next year, and there's incidentally the racist ones. So this is one camp. And why do these people do this? Because they want to belong to a group. It creates a sense of belonging finally to a club of people who don't have rich parents, who don't have any power in the justice system. But now they have power because social media acts as a megaphone. So that's one camp. And then there's the ACID camp, a completely different group, but also with a lot of power, but more knowledge of how you can make things go viral. More knowledge of how you can find creative ways to punish people online by doxing them, for example, by posting one-star reviews. And there's a lot more coming, I think. And they hardly overlap, I think. And these two camps, they will get going whatever it takes. They just got started and they will keep going, because whatever action they take, even if they take criminal actions, it will enforce the cohesion within that group, the ACID group, and then the virtue signalers group. And that's why I don't want to take a stance on either of those camps, because whatever I say, it will not stop them.
No.
They will just keep going. It's just a fire. This is a dumpster fire, and it's very hard to put out now. So I just feel bad for the student that got killed. His name is Sandadia. I feel bad for his parents, because they just don't get a chance to mourn the death of their son. Because that's the worst thing that can happen to you as a parent, is that your children die before you. And that just happened, I mean, my kids are that age. So that's the core of the whole thing. And that just cannot happen. These people do not get, they cannot do it in a serene way now to just mourn the death of their talented son. Anyway, there goes the mood of today. Let's just watch something crazy, something of the level of Will Smith eating meatballs. I found another one. So we had a few ones already, like eating a pizza and having beer at a barbecue, and Will Smith eating meatballs or eating spaghetti. Now there is one, and you don't need the audio, I think. Yeah, there's one. Dogs playing in the field. I have no idea what the prompt was, and it starts all very well with cute little puppies, like yawning and interacting, and then it quickly goes downhill into hellish dog-like creatures that seem to morph when you look at them. There's a dog attached to a car, and then the worst one, I think, is where the human handler turns into the dog, and there's a very thin line in this video between human zombies, and then I think when you think of, there's a whole pack of wild dogs now in Chernobyl. And they appear to be thriving, but genetically they are already different from they used to be pets, by the people who worked and lived in Chernobyl. The Chernobyl dogs are a thing, and they're already genetically different. And I have a funny feeling that these are the ones they're hiding from us.
David Attenborough will have
David Attenborough, bless his heart, should have a good look at them. But you think this is the worst one, and then another one appears with things growing out of its head, and the teeth are the worst. I think the teeth are the worst, and now we're back to puppy.
Wow.
So the last frame is a bunch of Labrador puppies, and I think that's the palate cleanser that you need to get the bad taste out of your mouth. So the video is called Gen 2, AI-generated video with dogs, and I tried to describe it, but you have to see it. It's embedded in my newsletter, chloelarts@substack.com. Wow, more weird shit, right? Because that's what we are really here for. I want to talk about a CAPTCHA concept called Yoko. And that's the one. So what is CAPTCHA? We all know CAPTCHA, I think, but it's basically we have to prove to a robot that you're a human. So it's like a perverted version of the Turing Test. So the AI doesn't have to prove that it's not an AI trying to be a human. It's a human that has to prove to an AI that it's a human, not a robot, right? So that's a CAPTCHA. And it's being used for security reasons. So as you know, you can write a little script that tries out different password combinations whenever you're supposed to log in somewhere. So CAPTCHA is being used. Usually it's showing you a grid of images, like 9 images in a grid. And then you have to click on the ones that contain a bridge or a boat. What we're, of course, doing there, us humans, by doing this is training an AI that is going to be used for self-driving vehicles.
Yeah.
That's why it's always traffic situations.
Okay.
Yes, there's no proof of that, but it can be a coincidence that it's usually a traffic situation without humans in the street. So it's always empty streets, no humans. Just cars and bridges and traffic lights and crossings, stuff like that. So I think it's going to be used as an input for self-driving vehicles, and there are sensors like the LiDAR, the type of radar that cars are using to make decisions in a split second about whether to go to a full stop without asking the humans first. Anyway, so that's CAPTCHA. Now Discord. The beloved community also has a CAPTCHA to weed out the scripts and the bots from the humans, and it doesn't use bridges or traffic situations in empty landscapes. It uses something entirely different, and I'm not sure how I should describe it. It's being called a Yoko, Yoko written like Yoko Ono, you know, the John Lennon's wife. And I know that Yoko Ono, she's still alive. She's weird, right? She's weird. She's an artist.
I saw the documentary on Disney Plus where
did?
they behind the scenes of their tour in England.
Yeah.
And she was all the time so quiet, so
yeah. Well, I have a funny feeling that this thing, I have no way to describe it. So the CAPTCHA in Discord will ask you, please click each image containing a Yoko. But then it doesn't explain what a Yoko is. It just gives you one example of a Yoko. And a Yoko looks something like a cross between a snail, an eye, and a marble.
Yeah.
Or a planet, or I don't know. Or this particular type of sweet, what are they called? They're like rock hard.
Rainbow, no.
They're rock hard, and they're like, marble shaped, pretty big.
And lick on it till you're bleeding.
Yes, and then you have to lick it, and there's different layers in it, and some of them are very spicy. Anyway, so that's a Yoko. Now we know. So next time you are on Discord and you have to prove that you're a human and not a bot, remember what a Yoko really looks like.
But also a robot, now these days they can...
Yeah, it's AI generated. So if your script, if an AI is trying to prove that it's a human, and Yoko is an AI invented concept, it might be the most useless CAPTCHA. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's that almost breaks my brain. The Yoko breaks my brain.
Okay.
Okay. What else weird shit do we have? Just something. Two useful, one amusing site and then a useful one. The amusing one is timeguesser.com. And timeguesser spelled weird as time, GUESSR.com. So, the URL US, kind of ate away one of the E's, timeguesser.com. And timeguesser will randomly, when you decide to play it, it's a browser play. It will show you a picture, and it doesn't ask you, is this AI generated or not? Because my initial reaction was, this is AI generated, right? But it's a genuine black and white picture. And you have to guess two things. First of all, where was this taken? I would say Vietnam.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that capital of Vietnam. I haven't watched enough.
But is it AI generated?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they're genuine pictures. But that's typical, you know. Yeah, I can feel.
Yeah, I'm always looking at the text.
Yeah, you get suspicious. The text is you can generative AI is still very bad at text.
Yeah,
it's getting better at fingers. Still very bad at text. So the text is, and that's how you know it's a genuine black and white pictures taken. So you have to do two things. First, you have to guess what the year was this picture was taken. I would say in the middle of the Vietnam War, because that's when a lot of photographers were there. So let's just, and then you have to sign on a map. You have to decide where in the world this picture was taken. And then the game will tell you how wrong you were. Now, first of all, I have no idea where Vietnam is. It's somewhere Southeast Asia, but I'm not sure. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
It's a peninsula, I think. Yeah, somewhere, one of these. We have Thailand, Vietnam, yes. There we are, the dongle. If it were like a male, we are. Yeah, that's...
Okay.
Let's see if you guessed right. We weren't that far away. Your guess was 277 kilometers away, because you were. It was an honest mistake, and you were 1966, and you were 24 years off. What does this mean?
I put in 1942.
No, the Vietnam War.
Vietnam War, yeah. It's Friday, Chloe.
Yeah, I liked it. And it's fascinating how we have been influenced so much by deepfakes and generative AI that we get suspicious of every new picture that we see. But these are real ones.
Okay.
And the very last one is actually a useful website called Favori. Favori with two E's, favoree.io. And it's called the Rotten Tomatoes of YouTube. So YouTube has a number of, an algorithm that shows you the most popular trending ones in your country, for example. For me, that really sucks because a lot of them are music videos and a lot of them are French-speaking. So not very relevant. So Fivery is actually based on a browser plugin, and it's a little bit of a black box, but it has rankings of the most popular YouTube channels in particular countries, which is a question that is very hard if you want to ask YouTube.
Yeah.
But Fivery kind of solves it. Now, the reason that I'm mentioning it is that it currently doesn't have enough users, so I kind of like what comes popping up. So right now it's a very limited community and it clearly needs to grow. But I actually came across a number of YouTube channels that I didn't know before. So I kind of I liked it. Now that I look at it, it's been taken over by fans of a YouTube channel called Summoning Salt. So yeah, it's most popular. Let's see. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at YouTube videos that actually are very popular, within particular very specific YouTube channels. So Fivery.io if you just want to have a different look at popular YouTube channels.
Okay.
And that is all we have time for today. Shout out to Yo, who is listening to us on Twitter Spaces. And for the rest of us who are listening on your favorite podcast channels, don't forget to subscribe. Shout out to the Hardcore on the Facebook page, socialrunners.com Facebook page, and the Chaos and Amazement YouTube channel.
Thank you very much for watching, and we see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.